Welcome back to the Whiskey Wisdom Podcast, everybody. This is your co-host, Tyler Y'all, and today I am with
Chris Kellum.
And our special guest today is
Tyler Williams.
Make it easy to remember, 2 Tylers and a Chris.
Yes.
Tyler Y and Tyler W.
Yeah. So thank you all for coming back to the Whiskey Wisdom Podcast. We're recording here again in the beautiful Azalea Station. We're just facing the opposite direction that you're used to seeing us. Why? I don't know. We just are. So
mix it up a little bit.
yeah, exactly. Keep it fresh on your toes. We just realized this is our 3-year anniversary, so
Yes.
might as well flip things around. Why not?
No pressure.
That's kind of what we do anyway.
Yes. And we're keeping it simple today. We're just drinking energy drinks and water because it is horribly overcast and we're trying not to fall asleep.
And Chris is horribly hungover, so.
I mean,
Good water segue, Chris.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Which is why we brought Tyler on.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and why we brought you on?
Yeah, man. So thanks for having us. First
Yeah.
off, Chris and Tyler, it's great to meet you guys. So Tyler Williams, I was born and raised in Raleigh, North Carolina. Grew up there and went to East Carolina, left Raleigh for Greenville for 4 years plus a victory lap.
Nice.
And came into the Raleigh area. I've been working in corporate IT pretty much for, over 10 years now. And it's been great. It's been fun and stuff, right? But, wanted to start eventually looking to take a step out of that, right?
Yeah.
And came up with this idea of, Pure Tide Water. That's the company. And the concept really came from my wife and I were just driving to a family event one day, and I have a reverse osmosis filter at home, right? So I enjoy drinking water that I can trust, and knowing that what comes out of this filter is clear water, clean water, doesn't have any microplastics, any PFAS in it, right? And it hit me one day, and I was like, well, everybody should have access to water that they can trust, right? Everybody should have access that they know what they're drinking is good quality water, what they're giving their kids is good quality water, what you're mixing your baby formula with is good quality water. And that's important. And it just hit me one day that, well, every good water and premium water quality or water company that sell water, it's in plastic. And I think that's a huge gap. And I think there's a huge market that's untapped of people who don't want to drink plastic. Microplastics and PFAS and things are real, and there's science that backs that it's not good for you. And so it just hit me one day, and I was like, the Milkman. And that was everything, because the light bulb went off, and I was like, glass, delivery, pick it up, right? And operationally, it just makes sense. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get more people water they can trust in packaged and sustainable packaging that they can trust. Is glass, don't have to worry about microplastics, and we're at the beach, right? So people don't like single-use plastics, and I think it's a good opportunity for a target market to be eco-friendly, sustainably, and people like to drink good water because water quality around here is hard to come by. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do.
Nice.
Very good. So it was funny. I was connected to you through Kyle.
Yep.
And so
Shout out Kyle, Wrightsville Beach. He's awesome.
Yeah. And so when I was talking to him about it, we were going to meet. I had family issue, unfortunately, so we couldn't. So I was like, I'll definitely get you on the podcast then. But with all that being said, I was talking to one of my coworkers, kind of like your concept and everything.
Yep.
And I said the exact same thing. I was like, think like the Milkman.
Yep.
What's funny, she just moved back from Colorado. And the area of Colorado she lived in, it's so funny. You mentioned that. The town that I lived in had a Milkman
that
actually still came with the glass bottles and dropped them down. It was from like a local dairy farm right up the road.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like, of course, down here you don't see any milkmen because there's not really any like dairy farms close enough to really do that.
No.
So I thought that was really cool. And she was like, oh, yeah, it was fantastic. Everyone did it. And
it's classic.
Yeah.
It's personable. And I think that concept now, I think society, and this is my personal opinion, but I think that society is gotten to where we are so inundated with like information overload, 24/7, cell phones, internet, social media, fast-paced, high-demand lives every single day. And I think that there's a wave that's coming, no pun intended with Pure Tide, but maybe pun intended. I think there's a wave happening right now where people are really wanting to get back to like basics, right? Back to being a human being, right? People, they want to interact with one another, right? They want to put the cell phone down. Have you all seen the flood of apps that have come out recently? Like just like digital detox applications. Like I have one on my phone called Opal, right? And these different apps, people are making a lot of money because people are like, I'm addicted to this smartphone. I don't want to do this anymore, right? And I think the Milkman concept is something that really brings us back to like the roots and the basics of a human being, right? You know the guy, right? You know, hey, that's John. He delivers my milk once a week, and you know, chat with him. He knows how many kids you got. You know, that type of human interaction, I think, is really missing, and that's what we're trying to really grasp onto is that nostalgia, classic, personable feel and approach of water.
Yeah,
because it's become so disconnected.
Yeah.
It really has.
Yeah.
When I was going to UNCW, there was a class I took. It was service operations.
Yep.
And while I was in it, one of the professors said, we're going to hit a point where the straw is going to break the camel's back from efficiency over service and human interaction.
Love that.
And I think we're starting to kind of crest that curve right now.
Yep.
Saying, like, you know what, I think the straw is about to break the camel's back, because there's so many more people that I talk to, and we've read a lot of people on the podcast that have said the same exact thing.
Yep.
Just saying, you know what, the efficiency is nice, the quick service is nice, but I'm missing the human interaction.
Yep.
And I think you like hit the nail on the head where people want to start interacting with people again.
Yep, 100%, man. And that's what I'm trying to bring back, right? And I think nostalgia is a big thing now too. You see a lot of like, you know, these hit Instagram reels and posts and stuff. Like I follow this one guy it's like that 90s life or something like that, right? Because I'm a 90s kid, and he talks about like all the classic like Disney 90s movies, and he brings up all like the classic toys and stuff. And he had one reel he was showing the do y'all remember like the green ketchup and purple ketchup from whenever we were kids?
I forgot about that.
It tasted so bad.
Absolutely disgusting. Would never recommend it. I don't even want to look at the ingredients what was in that, right? But you know, that type of nostalgic stuff is really hitting home with a lot of people now. So I think this also kind of taps into that.
Yeah. There was, you may have even posted it, I might have just seen it in my random Instagram addiction scrolls. But it was talking about your water company, like the typical, like Dasani, whatever, isn't selling you water. They're selling you plastic water bottles.
Bingo. Yep.
So I thought that was really interesting the way that they put it too. I'm like, actually, that makes a lot of sense, because you go and you buy a $2 bottle of water. Like, water's free. They sold you the plastic that it came in.
They're selling you the plastic that it comes in, right? And the branding and the marketing behind that. But at the end of the day, you know, water is water. And it's funny you say that, because I would say like 75-80% of the big water bottle companies, the Aquafinis, the Dasanis, Smart Waters, right? Even, you know, Liquid Death and stuff, it's essentially glorified tap water, right? Like they filter it, right? So at the end of it, it's good, clean, filtered water. But that's what it is they just hook up to a municipal source of water and they just filter it, and then they sell it to you in a can or in a bottle. And even if you're talking about the, you know, the premium natural source water, right? The Avions and the Fijis and stuff like that stuff's great in concept. But number one, they're all in plastic, right? So like what you're drinking, Fiji markets like, hey, it never touches human hands, right? Until you unscrew the lid. All right, well, it's been sitting in that plastic bottle for like 3 or 4 months by the time I open it up. So I have a feeling it might not just be water in that bottle, right, anymore. But Fiji, they can't afford to sell you glass, right? They can't ship glass from, you know, the Fiji Islands over to North Carolina. That you're going to be paying about $15 a bottle if they do that. So that's kind of the interesting concept about, you know, it's all just glorified water. Water is water. You know, we're just trying to, you know, bring a personal feel to it and make it easy for people.
The one thing that got me really, because I've heard people talk about, like, make sure you don't have plastic in whatever, or you put water or hot things in plastic, whatnot. What really made me start thinking about it is when you start picking up like a salt shaker, actually. Because what's salt but just rock, right? That's been around in the ground for thousands of years. And there's an expiration date on it. It's not because the salt's going out of date. It's because the plastic is now getting like basically bleached into the salt. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And if it's happening to salt within a few years, like what's me drinking out of a plastic water bottle doing to me every single day?
Exactly. And I think there's a lot of science that's coming out now that's starting to back up, hey, this isn't just a, like, you know, for the environment thing. This is for you as a human being, and your body and your biology can't digest this plastic that we're ingesting. And I don't know if I already mentioned this, but I posted a reel I posted, and there was a study, I think it was the Media Orb study, and forgot what research was behind that, but you can look it up. And they found just a couple years ago that we're ingesting like 5 grams of plastic a week, which is a credit card worth of plastic. So you're literally eating a credit card pretty much, and it's
Every
everywhere in
week,
your body.
yeah.
They've done studies
Yeah.
where it's shown that it's it's in our brain. They found traces of microplastics in our brain, and in males, it's in like your testicles, and which I don't want that in there. That doesn't sound fun. And so a lot of the science is backing up that it's not good to eat and drink out of plastic, right? And it used to be back in the day that it was just something that people would say, it's bad for the earth, it's bad for the environment, right? And it wasn't really sticking with everyone, right? Some people were really moving towards, let's not use plastic and let's, reduce, reuse, recycle. But I think now that it's kind of grown to where it's bad for you and bad for your body, that people are really starting to grasp that and really get on board with this is something needs to happen here. And I think the industry isn't doing anything about it. The water bottle industry they're just pushing out different brands of water and more plastic bottles and fancier looking plastic bottles. And it's like, why? Like, stop. I was in the grocery store the other day and I got so mad because I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, if I was on vacation, right, and I didn't have my water filter with me, I like good water, but I've made the conscious decision that I want to eliminate plastic from things I drink and things I eat. And I was looking across and I was like, the only option here is like this like $8 liter of like Mountain Valley water. And I was like, even them, the top of it had, this is what got me, right? So they sell glass bottles, and in the grocery store, it has a metal lid on it, aluminum lid. But the thing about it had a brake seal on it that was plastic. And majority of the microplastics that are in bottles comes from unscrewing, screwing. And it sounds crazy, but in concept, if you think about the shreds of microplastics that are coming every time you unscrew it and screw it, right? So it's like, yeah, you have a glass bottle, but you have this brake seal of plastic that literally is just going to have shards of plastic in my water every single time I open and close it, right? So it's a very frustrating point, and I think the industry is just broken, really, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to flip it, honestly, and no pun intended with the water bottle flip, but we're turning it around because the industry over time has become like very heavy centralized operations, like the Dasanis, Aquafinas, Smart Waters, like Mountain Valley, all these, they have very heavy, like 1 million square foot facilities, like insane footprints out in like Minnesota or somewhere random, right? But the cost that you're paying for that water is not in the bottles and it's not in the water, it's in the freight and the shipping. And so that's why they resort to plastic bottles, because it's cheap and it's the quickest way and the most efficient way they can get it from where they make it to where we live in the grocery stores. What we're doing is we're doing more of a micro operations concept, right? So we're doing lean and mean small operations, right? Where we get, we plug into a municipal source, we 4 times filter it, right? We have a pre-filter, a sediment filter, a reverse osmosis filter. We have UV on it. So we have the state-of-the-art technology and operations to make sure this water is 99.999% clear. There's no plastics in your water, right? But because we are going to be delivering and our customers are going to be within 30 to 50 miles of where we're making the water, we're going to have a smaller target market than Aquafina or Dasani is, because they're trying to sell to millions. We're trying to sell to thousands, but we're trying to do it very clean and be able to control the cost, right? And so that's why really the business model that's unique is that we're bottling it, we're sourcing it locally, we're bottling it locally, and we're delivering it locally. If we expand beyond, the North Carolina coast or this southeastern region of, the Wilmington, Surf City, Topsail area, if we expand, then, like I said, micro operations. The key of that is micro. It's lean, it's fairly cheap in the scheme of things, right? So we can just set up another manufacturing plant anywhere we want, because we only need 2,000 square feet. We don't need 1 million square feet, right? So with that, the big companies, they can't really keep up with that. They can't keep up with the cost that we're able to sell these bottles for, because glass is expensive. It costs a lot more. Like the operating cost for a plastic bottle is in like fractions of a cent. It's almost nothing when you scale it out, right? But glass is probably like 20 to 30 times more expensive than plastic, right? So they can't do it because they're selling at retail. Number one, they can't guarantee those bottles are going to get back to them, right? They're just going to get thrown away or something. So they have an ongoing cost of these bottles. We, being the Milkman, right, we break that model completely, right? We deliver it to you, you use their water, and then we get those bottles back. and we sanitize the bottles, we sterilize the bottles. There's zero contamination in those bottles after we get done cleaning it. But that's why we're able to do what we can do, because we're getting the bottles back, and with that, we're able to control the costs a little bit more. And we're not going to be charging $12 a gallon, right? You can cut that in half. And we're able to charge, less than, your big names, a little bit more than, your Dasanis and Aquafinas, right? But we're trying to get right in the middle, of like the Fijis and the Avians, but also, a little above Aquafinis and Dasanis. And our niche is we're all glass. You can know that your water has never touched plastic at all.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, question.
Answer.
Being the waterman.
I love that.
And you're doing deliveries, how big are your bottles?
So,
Or
great question.
How many are you dropping off typically?
Great question. So we've averaged out. So we're still pre-operations, right? So we're looking to hit the ground running in like this summer of 2025.
Okay.
So starting out, we're really trying to capture households and families, and there's going to be sub-markets around that, right? With households and families, we're going after also the competitors of the big 5-gallon jugs, right?
Yeah.
The home delivery 5-gallons, the Culligans, the Primos, right? And they have a great concept. But it's all plastic.
It's still plastic.
It's still all plastic, and so it doesn't eliminate the plastic, introducing plastic into your bodies, and plastic's not as recyclable as people think. So, Chris, to your question, we're starting out with just 1 gallon size.
Okay.
So it's because glass is heavy.
Yes.
So if we were dropping off like 5-gallon glass jars or bottles or jugs of water to like, someone who's 73 years old, they're going to be like, I can't lift this 73-pound thing of water, right? So I think the gallons open doors for people who, 5 gallons is a little big, right? It's not for everybody, and people like it because of the dispenser it comes in and stuff like that, right? So, but it's all plastic. I shared, Primo had a story, and I've been really like coming at the big water bottle companies next. I'm not gonna lie, because we're being aggressive with this marketing and branding, and I shared a Primo commercial, and it was like delivering the 5-gallon jugs, and they were talking about the convenience and easy for you, and it was like, cool plastic, bro. Like it's all plastic. It's at the end of the day, it's just another way that they sell you plastic, pretty much. But great question. So starting with gallons, and then just reading the market, really, just to see who likes what areas are hitting, harder, and get feedback, right? And that's one big thing. We're actively giving a survey out right now to really understand what are people's water usage, right? Consumer frequencies, what is our target? What is our total addressable market? What age groups are we looking at? What demographics are we looking at that want this type of stuff? And then also educate people too. And I think from getting that feedback, more people are going to want liter bottles, right? Like liters are a classic, on the go. I can grab this and, go to the grocery store, right? So I think eventually we'll get into like liters and half gallons, but I don't see us going above the 1 gallon size, because I think that's kind of our niche is
It gets real heavy after.
Oh yeah. Even a 5-gallon jug of water, it's like, I don't know, like probably like 30, 40 pounds. So when you put glass in that, you're talking like probably 60, 70 pounds.
No, I asked, so like me and my wife were trying to get back to like our old days where we were drinking anywhere from 2 liters to 1 gallon a day.
Yep.
And people are like, how do you, I'm like, well, if you're purchasing and you're using these glass water bottles, it's for you when you're out on the go, like when you're running around doing stuff, you're going to work, you don't have access to your cleaner water at home.
Exactly.
This is why you're going to use this. It's not, in my head, I'm like, I'm really not going to be ordering 15 gallons of water to get me through a week. It's like, hey, let me order, 1 to 5 gallons so I can take it with me here to and from work, and then I have regular water at the house. Yep,
that's
something that we're
filtering. A great point, and I think you're hitting on a certain aspect of our target market too, right? Like there's gonna be households who are gonna want to say like, I need this to give my family water. And they're going to be ones who drink 20 gallons a month, right? Yeah. But then you have folks like Chris who are like, okay, do you have any kids or anything, Chris? Okay, so it's like, like you said your wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, like so you and your wife, you probably drink, 2 gallons a week, 3 gallons. It'll be like kind of a treat for you, like a convenience, right? So it's going to be people that get, 20 gallons a month versus folks that get, 5 to 10 gallons a month, right? But I think just starting out, we're looking to kind of have little entry-level packages, right? So with it being 1 gallons, I know that there's an addressable target market of folks just like yourself who are like, I kind of want it for on the go, right? And so we're going to be throwing in little merch in the first delivery that you do get, and it's going to have like a little stainless steel to-go bottle, right? Because a lot of folks are like, well, I like water to go, and we're not gonna have liter-sized bottles yet, right? But you could pour our water in this reusable stainless steel bottle, right? And you're getting good water, clean water. It's never touched plastic, and you can have it on the go. So I think it's, a little bit of a learning curve for folks that like to do that, but I think people will get onto it, right? Because I think the mission of what we're trying to do hits home with so many people, especially where we live on the coast, that I think the mission is really going to get people to want to, cross that barrier to change how they're drinking water and how they're consuming it and where they're buying it from.
Here's a question, because I don't know it. Is there any difference or any good or bad over like aluminum or stainless steel?
That's a great question. So stainless steel and glass, very comparable. Aluminum, and you're holding an aluminum can, so you're not going to like my answer. And you can Google this, and all the listeners can Google this too. Look up PFAS aluminum can lining. Every one of those aluminum cans, probably over 90% of them, all have a liner in it, because if they didn't have a liner in it, the liquid would taste metallic. And so what they've done is there's a liner inside of that can, and the liner is made with PFAS and forever chemicals. The stuff that's coming out now that's like,
finding out how bad it is.
People are like, I don't need to use this nonstick pan, and it's really bad for me. And forever chemicals are, they're called forever chemicals because they're never getting out. So put the can down. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, great question. I think stainless steel is definitely comparable, but aluminum is, it's still a liner with PFAS in it.
Right. We know the person who makes that liner.
Yes.
I was thinking about his business model. I was like, that's getting vilified now. People don't know who he is, but
well, it makes me laugh too, because like some people are like, oh, I don't like metallic tasting water, and I'm like, that's my favorite kind. Like if I'm getting it in a can, my brain is like, it should have a metallic
some
taste
people
to it.
Different water profile, different taste profiles that do like it. And like some people prefer aluminum can, right? But I went down the rabbit hole of like microplastics and PFAS and stuff, and I was thinking, what is a way that you can guarantee that this water is clean and pure, and it is like filtered and doesn't have anything additional in it?
It's glass.
Can you guarantee if it's sitting in a PFAS liner in the can? You can't fully guarantee that none of that's in the water. Right. Can you guarantee it if it's sitting in a plastic bottle? You can't guarantee that's not in the water. Glass is the only thing that you can guarantee that is not degradable and it doesn't break down. So glass, and you get to look at it, right? Like I thought about aluminum and bottles and things like that, then I avoided aluminum because of the liner issue. But I want people to see the water. I think that's really important, to be able to see your water, look at it under the sun, and be like, this is good, clean water, right? There's nothing floating in this. It just gives you a sense of trust, I think, and that's what we really want. And I think to your point, Chris, about, and this brings me to another point I wanted to make, the taste profiles is something, and that's what, and I get that, right? So I have a reverse osmosis filter at my house, and because, like I mentioned, I really like to trust my water. I like to know what I'm drinking is good quality. There's nothing in this water. And I understand also that some people want to try different things. Some people like different taste profiles and water profiles. And I think that some people like sparkling water. Some people like alkaline water. Like, some people like the pH to be a little higher because it does have health benefits to it. There's science is backing that up. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Gary Brecka and the hydrogen water thing that's been coming out recently. And that's very, very, very early. But that's something we can possibly tap into as well. But at the end of the day, water profile and water taste, water's water. It doesn't matter where you get it from. It's all a mineral profile. So you can go to Fiji's mineral profile, and you're like, all right, they got this much calcium. It's all milligrams per liter. That's all it is.
Right.
It's all certain minerals, milligrams per liter. So you can say this much potassium, this much sodium, this much magnesium, right? And you can build different profiles to mimic almost exactly those sources of water using natural organic minerals. And so is it sourced from aquifer in Fiji and the Fiji Islands? No, right? But I guarantee if you did a blind taste test and you tasted this water and you tasted Pure Tide's water, probably wouldn't be able to tell much difference, right? And also you can trust that we're going to be testing this water like crazy. That's going to be, we'll be very transparent about our testing. How many total dissolved solids are we going to have in this water? What is there going to be any type of microplastics or anything? We're going to be testing for it. And so if there is, then, which I seriously doubt there's going to be, then we're not going to sell it. Right? So we're going to be very open and transparent about that, and also offer different mineral blends. And that's where I was going with your point of tasting, is the mineral blends. Some people like it for taste. Some people like it for athletic performance, right? So some people like to work out and they want to know, I think it might have been you, Tyler. You're mentioning on a couple podcasts ago, like whenever you get to the point of health, you start right-sizing it, right? You're like, okay, I got my basis down. I'm eating right. I'm drinking good water. I need some extra magnesium, right? Or I need some extra potassium while I'm working out. We can do that, right? And that's all smart water with electrolytes and stuff is. That's all it is.
Right.
And we can do that same thing, but ours just has never touched plastic, and they can't do that.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because that was going to be my next question too. I'm like a water nerd for certain things because like my mom beat it into my head. And so I got onto reverse osmosis water like a while ago. Also didn't realize there's no minerals in reverse osmosis water. So I was just drinking gallons and gallons of that a day because I was doing 75 hard. So I was having over a gallon of reverse osmosis water. And
like,
was
I'm
feeling
dehydrated.
so run down and dehydrated. I'm like, I'm drinking more water than I've ever drank before. And my mom's like, well, have you been putting the minerals in it? I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I have to put minerals in my water? And she was like, yeah, you're depleting your body now of minerals. And I was like, son of a bitch.
You're literally doing damage to your body.
Yeah.
To your point, you're 100% right. So like I mentioned, my water at home, reverse osmosis as well. And I sprinkle like natural, sea salt into mine to add a little bit of minerals, right? But you can do that to scale. And then that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So some people like plain, purified, reverse osmosis filtered water, right? But if you're drinking gallons and gallons of it a day, you do need to replenish some minerals, because you're getting little to no minerals in that reverse osmosis, because it's filtered. It filters out the bad stuff, also filters out the good stuff, right? And so you're getting plain, clear, filtered water at the end of the day, which some people like the taste, but some people like some minerals added into it.
Right. Yeah, that was the next journey I went on to, and I found one now that's like it's a couple drops that
trace minerals.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, I can't.
when your mom's into the functional health, it's the type of rabbit holes you go down.
Yes. I've heard of there's a few brands out there that do like mineral and essential packets that you can put in there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, why would I need this?
It's funny,
But
because
it makes sense now.
a lot of those packets, it's just glorified like sugar and salt.
Yeah.
Like seriously, if you look into it, it's all, and quite frankly, a lot of the packets, they buy stuff from overseas, right? So it's not like the best quality salt and sugar mixture that you can get. The vitamins they put in it, it's not the best quality, right? Like, do they do heavy metals testing on it? Highly doubt it. So things like that you got to be careful with. But yeah, those little packets and stuff, it's all just sugar and salt, dude.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
For a while I was doing the element packets.
Yep.
And then they're going through a lawsuit now too, because I didn't accurately put what was in those packets. And I was like, well,
they didn't disclose, like there were bad stuff in it that they didn't disclose?
They made it sound like, because I heard the element version of it, they're like, oh, where we were getting it from, we didn't realize there was more of this than what we thought was in it.
Yeah.
But you take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Haha.
Arsenic.
Yeah, darn.
Forgot about that.
Right. So, but yeah, when I dove into that too, I was like, I can really essentially make what I want to go into that water. I just have to do a little bit more work myself and put it in.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
That's essentially what we're going to do, right? Like we're basically going to build a profile of different recipes of different type of water, right? Like some people like glacial water, right? It has a higher pH and it has certain mineral profiles in it, right?
Okay.
We're going to have an alkaline filter, right? So it's going to be filtered out, and then it's going to go through an alkaline filter to raise that pH, and then we can remineralize it to mimic that exact water profile. And so once we get these profiles down, one of our marketing campaigns is going to be like blind taste tests on the street, and have people, have a Avion and have a Fiji and have like these good premium names, and then taste our water, and then blindfold on them and make them choose like which one they think is Fiji, which one they think is Avion. And I guarantee a lot of them are going to think our water is that, or just comparable.
Better.
This is like a weird thing, and why it sticks to my head, I don't know. But this was probably 6 years ago. I went to a hotel, and inside of it was piano water, except it was in a glass bottle.
Yeah. Yep.
Typically, when you go to a hotel and there's water in there, it's free. But not when it's in a glass bottle, just so you know. So I went out with my wife and we drank a lot. I came back. I was dehydrated. I drank it. And I was like, this is the best water ever.
Yeah.
So one was probably because I was dehydrated. And then the next morning, there was a second bottle there.
Yeah.
And I was like, was it really that good? And I tried it again. And I was like, that actually is really good water.
Yep.
Two things from this story. One, it tastes different than the plastic ones that you get at the grocery store.
Yep.
And two, those are $15 dollar per bottle. So I had a $30 bill at the end of that hotel stay. So if you see a glass water bottle at your hotel, it costs money.
Stay away from it.
Yeah.
Stay away from it.
Ask first.
Yeah,
But like,
probably
so
should've.
we went to.
There was probably even a sign, and I probably just knocked it over.
Well, I was in New York,
really.
and they have a thing like there's so many people there and so much trash. They're trying to get away from all the excess plastics.
Yep.
And they legitimately are like, hey, you guys get one metal bottle of water. There's a tap downstairs if you want to refill it as much as you want to, but that's all the water you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was nice too because it was I'm assuming it was aluminum, but you could legitimately open it and I'm like, it literally felt like it was just a metal top. So it was the cleanest I've seen in a hotel.
Yep. It does give you sorry, go ahead. Finish
I was just saying, without doing glass, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense that you could recycle it.
And it does. There's something about water and glass, like a cold glass of water or a cold bottle of water that's in glass. It just tastes and it hits different.
Yes.
It does. Like I don't know what it is. It's just a clean, clear water taste profile, and yeah, I absolutely love it. But yeah, you're 100% right. I love that concept, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, trying to reduce the plastic use and things, and
Yeah.
I think that's coming up more. I think that a lot of people were inconvenienced back in the day by don't use as much plastic, and I'm like, okay, well, I have mouths to feed, and I work 2 jobs, and I got kids, and I got a family. I don't have time to jump on your no plastic bandwagon. You know what I mean? Because we weren't bringing people solutions.
Yes.
People were just like waving their finger and saying, "You don't use that plastic." Okay, well, what do you want me to do? Just go to every water fountain with a cup? Like, is that what I need to do? Yeah. And we were like, well, let's make it easy on people, right? Like, let's make it easy and affordable for people to get good water in glass. And right now, it's not easy and it's not affordable. Definitely not affordable, right? So your average household and family can't afford to buy glass water because you're talking, like I said, the mountain valleys and the Voss. Like, those are, I mean,
Vosses.
you're talking like, I mean, it gets wild. Like, you're talking like 7 to 15 plus a gallon, which is completely unattainable for 80% of America if you're not in a certain tax bracket.
Right, yeah.
And what we're bringing is we're making it affordable, right? We're making it easy and convenient. We're bringing it to you. You drop it off. We drop you off more, and we rinse and repeat. And also we're fighting that price point, right? We're really being able to control our costs, control the operations of things, control our delivery routes, to where we can compete with these big competitors in glass with keeping the costs down and attainable for people.
Nice. So I'm trying to think. So you're setting up, and we're trying to get you out here by summertime.
Yep.
If people want to learn more about your business and try and invest and try and be like, hey, I want to get this when you guys start, where are people looking?
Yeah, great question, Chris. So we're very active on Instagram. That's probably our main outlet right now is, at Pure Tide Water, kind of self-explanatory with the name. But yeah, Pure Tide Water. Pure Tide was taken. And it's a funny story because whenever I went to go make the Instagram, I was like, all right, there's no company called Pure Tide, and there was like peptides and something tides, right? But there wasn't a Pure Tide company. I was like, all right, cool. The name's available. And then I went to Instagram and I was like, Pure Tide. And it was taken, but the Instagram has like 0 followers and 0 posts. And I'm like, dude, like, let me just have this. So yeah, Pure Tide Water is our Instagram handle. Very active on there. And I do kind of want to, circle back to something you mentioned, Chris, about like I think it was the hotel you were staying in, right? About the plastic reduction. I think something that people need to be aware of is that less than 10% of all plastic is actually recycled. Yeah. Right. So the recycling, so the quality of water is a problem. Drinking out of plastic is a problem. The plastic pollution is a problem, but it's a problem at a wide scale. Like, we might not see the direct full-scale plastic pollution of bottles here in North Carolina's coast, but I guarantee you go over to Indonesia or Malaysia, that's where everything's dumping because it's going into a current in the ocean. And there's like 5, they're called ocean gyres, right? And it's basically a meetup of all the currents in the ocean, and there's about 5 of them around the globe, one in the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian Ocean, et cetera. And there's one called the North Atlantic garbage gyre, right? And it's literally named that because the Gulf Stream and everything, all this plastic just floats up there and it just collects. And it's going over to, it's staying up there in the ocean, introducing microplastics to the fish we eat, et cetera. It's all one big ecosystem. And another thing people need to be aware of, back to the less than 10% of all plastic is actually recycled. So I think it was like in the early 90s, China was the main importer of all plastic recycling and plastic bottles, plastic waste. And because they had the process and the scale to take care of it and, truly recycle it, clean it up, make things out of it. In 2018, so over half the world's plastic was going to China. In 2018, they passed what was called the National Sword Policy. And basically what that was like a halt to all plastic imports for trash and for recycling coming into China. All of a sudden, no more. So that built a massive, massive backlog of all these other countries, the U.S. being one of the main ones, South America, everywhere, and a huge backlog of plastic pollution. And so where did it start going was, your Indonesias, your Malaysias, these third world countries in the scheme of things who are fairly poor. They don't have the infrastructure to handle effectively recycling all this material. So it's all ended up on their beaches. And one company that I've met with their strategic partnership team, and we're actually going to be helping brand with them, and we're going to have a little counter on our page. We're building a strategic partnership with them, and really looking forward to it. Is 4Ocean.
Oh, yeah.
You heard of that company, number 4Ocean? Huge company, very big following. And I love what they do because they focus on ocean cleanup and plastic cleanup. But their message is you can't have one without the other. They're like, we're spending millions on cleaning up these beaches in Malaysia and in Vietnam, these different countries. But it's reduce, reuse, recycle. It's in that order, right? We've all heard the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. All companies focus on is recycle. But I just explained to you how the recycling process is broken. You think you're throwing that plastic bottle in a recycling bin, you think it's going to go and become some shoestrings or something. It's not what happens. It ends up like 70% of it ends up in a landfill. And so the recycling process is broken. All these companies are focusing on recycling. Some do reuse. Almost no companies focus truly on reduce. And what we're doing is we're able to reduce at scale, and we're starting locally. We're starting to get people bought in this mission in the North Carolina coast, these coastal towns. Shout out, starting Surf City, Topsail, Hampstead, Holly Ridge, eventually coming to Wilmington, Carolina Beach, Curry Beach, locking down this coast and getting people behind this mission to truly reduce their single-use plastic bottle usage. And I think people can get behind that and be able to eliminate, like, for example, I did the math the other day, and we averaged out if a household drinks about 4 gallons a week, right? And some are going to have 7 or 8 gallons a week. Some are going to have 2 to 3 gallons a week, like we talked about with you and your wife, Chris. And on average, if we get 100 households subscribed to this model, we eliminate about 12,000 plastic bottles from just 100 households per month. That's per month. So 100 households for an entire year, we're able to eliminate and reduce almost 144,000 plastic bottles. That equates to like hundreds to thousands of pounds, right? So just think about that. If we extrapolate those numbers outwards of whenever we're growing, like we're trying to be by year 2 have about 300 to 400 households subscribed. So that 144,000 a year times that by 4, that you're talking like to the hundreds of thousands of pounds to hundreds of tons of plastic, not just recycled, not used, not coming into our oceans, not coming into our towns, not coming into our, the beaches that we love. And I think that's something important really that people need to understand and, get behind it, because we're bringing a solution to make these coastal towns independent and free of single-use plastic bottles. And we're able to give that to people.
Yeah. You bring up a good point too, talking about the only focusing on the recycle part, especially these like mega corporations, right?
Yep.
They're like, oh, make sure you recycle this plastic.
Yep.
Well, that's funny of you to say, because it's cheaper for you to buy new plastic than it is for you to buy reused plastics. So like, wonderful of you. Like, what are you doing? And
it's frustrating because like a lot of these big companies, like they're making profit off of like, greenwashing people, right? And like, oh, we recycle, we stamp, we recycle. And it's like, okay, if you really scale that out, you're doing nothing. The impact you're doing is little to nothing. You're just checking a box so that you can market it a certain way to say you're good for the environment, but you're really not good for the environment. And I've never been a big environmentalist, guys. I just want to say that. Like, I've never been like this, like super, like, we need to save the world kind of guy, right? I like good water. I like to trust my water when I'm bringing it in my body. And we recently moved to Surf City, and I was like, well, this is a great target market. And I was like, I love these beaches, and this is something you can bring to people where they don't have to use plastic bottles. Yeah,
there's a guy who brought on the podcast too, David Joyner. He's on the Wilmington City Council.
Yeah.
And he won decisively just talking about the making, like, beautifying Wilmington, but not only like, hey, is this good for the environment, but like, hey, look around you. And he was able to reach out to both Republican, Democrat, and anywhere in between, saying, hey, look, no matter who you are, this affects you in one way, shape, 100%. Or form. So like, I thought that was really neat, and it kind of like pulls in together with it.
I love it. Like it does tug at the, the heartstrings a little bit, right? Like it's the environment, the ocean, the animals in the ocean, your health. Like people are like, hold up, I'm eating a credit card a week. Like that's wild behavior, and like no fault of their own, right? It's the industry, it's the water bottle industry and the marketing and how they've done it. They have basically given themselves an out to where it justifies using plastic every single day, right? Like you're drinking on average like 25 to 30,000 or 25 to 50,000 glasses of water a year, right? So if you extrapolate that to, how many plastic bottles you're using per year, it's a lot. You're drinking a lot of plastic. You're doing a lot of damage to the earth.
So coming up to one of my last questions for you. It's not that. What does success look like for you?
That's a really good
I mean, you
question.
kind of hit it in a few spots, but I'm just curious, like.
You mean like from a business standpoint, personal, whatever?
Both. Yeah. So
I do have, I didn't want to get too personally, but I do have 2 young kids, right, and a wife. So I love my family a lot. They're definitely number one in my life. I think the number one. So I define success in 2 ways. So from a personal standpoint, most important to me is I want to be able to look back, and I don't ever want my kids personally to question like, was my dad a good dad, or like, did my dad love me, right? I think that to me, when I'm long gone and they're talking about my eulogy, right, I want my son to stand up there and be like, my dad showed me he loved me every single day, right? And like I want my kids to know that without a doubt, and my wife too. So I think that's, from a personal standpoint, that's success for me. But also I think number 2, which is really important, is I want to be able to look back and say like I left an impact. I think I mentioned this, but I've worked in corporate IT for over 10 years now, and it's great, it pays the bills and stuff, right? But at the end of the day, I'm working on all these projects, and I'm building these flow charts, and I'm like, analyzing these systems and things that people are going to be implementing in these large corporations, and then I move to the next project. I'm like, what did I just do? Like, was that leaving an impact, or is that just like getting something across the line? And it's a limited feeling of I'm doing something for a larger purpose working in corporate. And not to downplay corporate, like I like it. It does pay the bills. I'm good at what I do, right? But it doesn't give me that fulfillment of like long term. And I think doing something like this is something I can leave a legacy in and definitely make an impact.
Yeah.
Good. So that leads me to my next question. So since we're looking in the forward there, just look back a little bit. If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Oh man, what would it be? Go for it. Honestly, I would say go for it. I've had ideas before for starting businesses and getting things off the ground, but without execution, it's just an idea and it just stays there. And I think that's something that I'm really passionate about. And I've learned with getting Pure Tide off the ground, it's gotten a lot of traction in a very short amount of time, just because I just jumped headfirst into it. I didn't dip one toe into it. I was like, you know what? I'm doing this. Within a week, I had the LLC, right? And then, within another week, I had, the name trademarked. I was like, we're really going to do this. And I jumped in both feet first, and I did not know everything. And I think that's an important thing to do, is like, don't send yourself into analysis paralysis, because I think that's what a lot of folks do, is they overthink it. They try to build out the perfect scenario and have the perfect business plan, and then the next thing you know, you get busy with stuff and kids and life, and it just sits on the shelf as another idea. And I would definitely say just go for it. Don't be scared, and just go for it. You will learn as you go.
I love it.
I think. So do you have a website too? I know you mentioned Instagram. For some reason, my Instagram links still never work. Like if I try and click the link, the hyperlink, it just sends me nowhere. So that's why I always ask, like, I know you mentioned Pure Tide.
Yep, Pure Tide Water Instagram, so at Pure Tide Water and PureTideWater.com.
Okay.
So
easy enough.
Easy enough.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Yep. Thank you.
Got me excited to drink more water today.
Yeah, man. Yep. Stay hydrated.
Yes.
Stay away from plastic, and drink aluminum in moderation.
Right. I'll try.
There you go.
All right. But yeah, thanks guys for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.